Here we are, ladies and gents. Now, this is a little confusing. Normally, I open up and I say first round, second round, third round, whatever. This is a situation where this is actually the second round in Group A for Classicpro, who won 2-1 over Jordan. Many people were surprised by that. Classicpro looking to continue his great form to show that he is not a player who will get relegated out of Group A. He's a player who advanced in, and he's been playing great. And then this is Miguel's first round that he's played within the group. Reason for that is we're trying to be as respectful as possible to players' lives and basically things that are going on with them. And Doubt was on a vacation. He had let us know ahead of time, like, hey, I'm going to be gone for the first week. Can we still make this happen? Obviously, we said yes. And that will be who Miguel plays next. Now, for Miguel, he probably already saw that Classicpro opened up and beat Jordan. And, you know, maybe Miguel's list of opponents he was going to be scared of, while I'm sure he has respect for all of them, he wasn't necessarily expecting to be this terrified of Classicpro. So, Classicpro, the Ukrainian, who's had an amazing year. He's playing as the Gurjaras, a civilization a lot of players have been banning. I've been talking about it all the time. You know me. Balance opinions, balance opinions, balance opinions. But I think the Civ needs a nerf, man. I think it's really strong. And that's what Classicpro has drafted, as Miguel instead opted to globally ban the Mongols. Miguel over here has the Chinese. The map is Jungle Swamp, and we will have all 3 games played, as we do. And very important for players in every set to get wins on the board, because at the conclusion of the group, whoever is top 4 with the points will stay up. 4th place will stay alive for the next season. Obviously, lots of opportunities in that next season coming within 6 or 7 months. And then top 3 advance into the playoff brackets. Bottom 2 are out. They get relegated, much like you might see in some other sports. Chinese start with more villagers, which is awesome. The weakness of them is the fact they don't have food in the bank, but plenty of food on Jungle Swamp. There's deer everywhere. And Miguel's been pushing in the deer. You can see it is genuinely everywhere, which is why, Miguel didn't actually get the first pick. He got the final ban. So he banned the Mongols because he thought maybe Classicpro would get that. So completely understand maybe leaving the Gurjaras open. I'll be curious to see how the Gurjaras perform here, because right now, Classicpro, he's got 6 of his sheep inside the mill. The thing about this Gurjara start is you do want to have all of your sheep within the mill. If you're a learning player, you might not want to send all of them. But it's very easy for the high-level players to get this running. I've experimented a lot. It feels like their eco's good, and they can pull off some incredible uptimes to feudal age. And then they've got lots of options. Tons of options, in fact, with the Shirvamsha Rider, I think, being the key unit. But then if the opponent's not making archers, you make camels that do 50% more bonus damage. There's genuinely no Civ out there that I think can counter the Gurjaras right now. It does come down to their economy, though, and with the Chinese, man. I mean, look at Miguel. He hasn't even moved out to scout his opponent yet. To be fair, that's the same with Classicpro, but yeah, they're just working towards a pretty fast feudal age. So we have seen some crazy differences in how the maps play out. I've been very satisfied, particularly with this map, because this is an idea that I got from a team game tournament, and we turned it into a 1v1 map. We've seen instances where players have docked the middle. We've seen instances where we've had all-in scouts. And then we even had the one game where a player played Byzantines and full walled. So the beauty of having such a quick group, right? It's only 5 rounds before you move into the playoffs. The beauty of that, for me, when you include new maps, is new strategies from time to time. People are still trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. And so we've seen Jungle Swamp actually perform pretty well in terms of strategic diversity. Which, if you know me, I like that. Now, you can't have that all the time, right? Some maps are more figured out. But, I mean, yeah, Classicpro's up already. 19 population up. But Miguel also up. He's on 21 population. And that's just the Chinese bonus right there. Is starting with the extra villagers. Are these games live? Yep, these games are live. I will do some as Rex, but this is live. This particular set is live. And I will probably be casting when the server maintenance happens because they're Rex. Unspoiler to Rex. I would say do not look at Liquipedia for this event, because I talked to Liquipedia and they were basically like, yep, we can't stop from updating stuff if you weren't casting that particular set at a particular time. So keep an eye off of that. Keep an eye on my content. We'll get all that stuff out to you. All right, so I'm assuming it's going to be scouts here for both players. I'm not seeing any indicators that there will be a change. When I look at the maps, I think both players actually have pretty reasonable resource layouts. I think it's a little worse for Classicpro because his berries are positioned more forward. But, you know, for Miguel, it is still going to have some work to do. And with these trees, you chop through them pretty easily. And it's not a normal wood line, so it's just going to be awkward. It is funny, though. Miguel, the first game of T90 Titans League, and he's just like, give me all the food. Nom, 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 nom. Give me all the food. And this is crazy because both players have kind of done a similar thing with that. Classicpro finally shows up now with his camel. Of course, this camel will trade very well against scouts. So something you have to be a little leery of if you're Miguel. If you don't know too much about Miguel, this is a player who's gotten some good results off of big names. The thing about Miguel is, I think sometimes he's struggled to just take it to the next level. He'll good result after good result after good result, and then he'll get to a situation where it's like, okay, this is my time. This is the time for me. Let's remove this, by the way. It covers that up. This is my time to show people that I can really be that top 10, that top 15. And whether it's a game here or there, or a set here or there, sometimes it doesn't pull through. And Classicpro, I guess, has been the same. I also, this scout. Oh, no! His scout is trapped. Okay, he's going to save it, I think. Wait a second. Oh, my God. He can't save the scout until he chops through that tree. That is so unfortunate for Classicpro. I've never seen anything like that before. Not at this level. I mean, okay, let me take that back. I have seen something like that before, but I was not expecting that here. I've actually had that happen with knights before, but like, geez, man. What happens is you set the gather point, and because there's a gap there, the game thinks that's the direction the scout should go, and it runs into the gap and then gets stuck. Kind of sucks, too, because these trees have 150 wood, so we'll take a little bit longer for him. Miguel over here. Again, this is the lack of scouting for Miguel hurting him. He doesn't actually know that everything's over here on the front. He obviously has had to small wall his wood lines to keep himself protected and add these spearmen. And both players with scouts, both players with spearmen. That's exactly what you see here. And Miguel goes, hey, guess what? I don't care about your spearmen. I've got the micro moves. And Miguel kills a villager. Not bad. And actually could kill another villager here. Oh, so close. He should get that. It's just a matter of how greedy he wants to be. Whoop! Dirty dancing there from Miguel. Does lose 2 scouts. So, you know, some people would argue maybe not worth it in some ways. But if the follow-up isn't there for Classicpro, then certainly worth it. He's going to have to brace himself to defend now. Classicpro still cannot free up that 1 scout, which is going to help Miguel. But this is what I mean, right? You lose 2 scouts, and if you've both been producing out of 1 stable, you're then going to be behind in the scout numbers, which could lead to some problems. Miguel right here wanting to go to gold. And, okay, his spearmen fighting and choosing to attack the camel there, which does have more HP than the scouts. Miguel with no offensive presence anymore. Keep in mind that the food income is still coming in from those turkeys there with the Grajaras. A lot of people have told me that they don't think that's strong. At least they did initially. And I can tell you that that is incorrect. At least with all the conversations we're having. I don't know if it matches any of the math done by my buddy Spirit of the Law or what, but trust me, this stuff, your eco just feels so smooth with this Civ. But at the same time, does it feel quite as smooth as the Chinese with the cheaper technologies? I think the Chinese, there's any Civ out there that could compete with the Grajaras, it would be them. And look at the confidence from Miguel just to fight off a couple of these weak scouts. He's known the situation. This scout's finally free, and Miguel is here with forging too. This is a disaster for Classicpro, and Miguel looking to start off Group A with a crazy performance here. Classicpro hasn't even walled this yet. Classicpro is, he might be dead here actually. All of these villagers could go down. He's going to lose 1, 2. It should be 2. Let's see. Miguel's going to get 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's huge. Miguel is taking no damage, guys. No damage. He's on his gold as well. These are the moments where Miguel has to shine. Any player in this league, this is the top 24 because this is Platinum League. If you get a lead like this, you have to take advantage of it. For Classic Pro, he was unable to kill as much. In fact, he hasn't killed a single villager. Maybe some opportunities will be here, though, because villagers are starting to chop through. Miguel gets villager number 6. The Classic Pro finally is going to get one. As Miguel... Oh, he has overchopped here. I was wondering how the villager got out. Miguel's got to be careful there, and this is what I mean, man. Immediately after gaining a lead, you do want to ensure that you keep that lead. And just like that, Classic Pro back in it. I was confused, too. I was like, how did that villager come out? And that just brings me back to what I had mentioned, right? Like, this map, the way the wood operates is just too difficult to keep walled at times. So for that reason, it's best to have military control over the game. I doubt Miguel needs to be leery of Classic Pro. Well done, WDW kid. They're not in the same group, but well done, man. Well done. Okay, so Miguel's going to click up, and this is the spot where I always have a hard time when up against the Gurjaras. Because the Gurjara player now is heavy on spearmen. And so some archers would be very useful. But, like, Miguel, we'll see if he deals with this here. Yep, there you go. Some house walls, some palisades. Still has to do a lot of work. Miguel, well done. Still could be a gap back here. But do you really want... The question you start to ask is, do you really want to move forward with a lot of archers when you are up against a civilization that can make the Shravamsha riders? And then, you know, you can circle that conversation the whole way around. Like, do you really want to be making knights against a civ that does more bonus damage? So I think these archers is just... I mean, I guess I say archers. It's only going to be one. I think it's just to assist the scouts for now. And it's just to pick off a couple spearmen here. Miguel will be faster to Castle Age. But overall, things pretty close right now. Miguel defending, adding the second stable, which Classic Pro has seen. And now we'll see what this one archer can do. It's a little interesting to see Fletching come in for just one archer, but feels worth it. And Classic Pro has to respect it. He doesn't know how many archers are actually arriving. He doesn't have the army here either. And if you're Miguel, you're so happy to see this tower forced down. You haven't had to do the same at home. He gets another doink on another villager. And in the end, losing a lot of scouts here. Will probably need to back away. And now Classic Pro is through. But Miguel says, those walls, they were meant to be open. Okay? And now you're trapped in here with me. I'm not trapped in here with you. Somebody call an ambulance, but not for me. Moment there from Miguel. Well played. Has killed 7 villagers in Feudal Age. Great start for him. And still 20 seconds off of the next stage is Classic Pro. So because Miguel didn't have to tower, he now has an extra layer of security here with this town center. And it's in a good spot. It's on wood, it's on gold. This archer gets pushed back. Miguel opening with camels, which is an interesting choice. If any civ is going to bring it back from here, it would be the Gurjaras. Because of the Gurjaras, I had to fact check, guys, and I learned that camels do bonus damage against camels. And that's important here, because that means the Gurjara camels will be doing more damage. And what will happen if a player who has made the tower realizes they're behind? They're just going to really put their foot on the gas with production. We've got the camels here. We're now going to have monks out. Miguel, does he have a monastery yet? No, he doesn't. Loves his eco. Dropping a TC on the right. Can't really kill villagers that easily with camels. You don't really want to be underneath towers and town centers with them. But Miguel backing away here. I actually don't know how much damage, bonus damage camels do, but Miguel finds this damage. It's just always going to be one area where you're having problems, it feels like, on this map. Which is why you need so much military. And it was a great clear up here from Miguel. And the overall KD for Miguel, 29 to 18 right now. And now his vill count should fly. So again, just like before in Feudal Age, Miguel now needs to hold his lead. I'd love to see Classic Pro make a gate if Miguel tries to run here. And I'm definitely seeing the difference with Miguel having armor. I wish I had the exact numbers memorized and how much damage that means, but... Okay, looking here. Still no overchop. It does feel like Miguel's going to have to flee. Also, for the people who are here live, if you could just say hi to me. I just want to make sure people... I know I'm focused on the cast right now. I want to make sure everything's going good for you guys. The camels kill the monk. They killed the monk there. Unfortunate for Classic Pro. I think he could have got a conversion there. Did end up losing... I guess Miguel did end up losing a lot of camels, though, in the end. 48 villagers now for him. Okay, we got some highs. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Hi, guys. Hi, guys. All right, so do you switch into pikes if you're Miguel? I think just monks and camels for now is good. When you get to about 60 villagers with this economy, I think a switch into pike would make sense. Classic Pro has just not been able to do any offensive damage. In theory, I mean, Miguel is super safe right now. He's also on stone here, so he could eventually build up towards what most likely a castle. I'm loving how Miguel also isn't fully sitting back either. He expects some pressure to be coming in, sending some spearmen this way, and now immediately reacts with the monk over here. And that's just how monks work for you in this game, guys. Remember that instance earlier where Classic Pro didn't get a conversion? Well, then Miguel gets a really fast one. Miguel even scouting with a spearman here is interesting. And here he comes with some camels. There's some weak villagers here from earlier. Who said camels can't raid the golds? Miguel now with 11 villager kills. Make it 12 villager kills. Could be 13 villager kills now in this game. Great start for Miguel. Again, like first round, and he knows that he's got Doubt, Viper, Say My Name, and then who else am I missing? Doubt, Viper, Say My Name. Jordan, excuse me, to play yet throughout this group. Classic Pro is possibly one of his quote-unquote easier opponents. So Classic Pro obviously showed that Jordan is someone that he didn't have to worry about that much. Again, Miguel, perfect positioning with the monks. You can tell Classic Pro's desperate to get some damage in here, guys. He wants to come forward with siege, but he can just never get the army mass to really control the area. Miguel even with the gate here and the house. Oh my goodness. And it's just delaying Classic Pro doing damage. It's now 70 villagers for the Brazilian, who probably needs to delete the gate now. Okay. He actually was busy here. Excuse me. Looks like both players maybe got conversions. But guys, I think that this is just getting to be too difficult for Classic Pro. He calls it. He knows he's been all in here for a while. He knows that he does not have control over this game. I'm not sure if he knew he was 30 villagers behind, but yeah, it was a pretty good game for Miguel. And so there's been a lot of chatter about the Gujaras. Are you going to ban them? Are you going to pick them? Miguel had globally banned the Mongols on this map because he knew Classic Pro had the very first pick for this series on their Civ draft. Didn't want to deal with the Mongols in their hunt. Ended up picking Chinese instead after Classic Pro got first pick. And Miguel gets his first win in his first game in this round. Which again is like round one for him and round 2 for Classic Pro, as we're doing things slightly out of order. Great start. Let's look back to how this game worked out. I think the key moment for Miguel was the scouts getting into Classic Pro's base before Classic Pro was able to get any damage done. I don't know, like it felt like maybe Miguel had made more spearmen this game, and maybe that played its role. Also loved that little archer switch. He didn't overinvest into it. I felt like that helped him as well. But yeah, ultimately 40 to 29 KD there. Economically, Miguel had collected a lot more of every resource, and that would have continued to climb. If you're curious on the speed, apparently Miguel's a boomer who was not even once in a spot where he was faster than Classic Pro. Okay, that's a false statement. There's a few instances where he was apparently faster, but it's not about APM. It's about decision-making. Obviously, APM helps with that and being able to execute decisions. Miguel starts off game 1 with a victory. All right, so we are here. Group A action. This is game number 2. Apologies for the delay. They did no spec delay, and so we've got to catch up. We should be there shortly. I was speculating on where Classic Pro would play with the civilizations because he had picked Japanese first, which I think is likely saved for Cross, which is what will be the final map in this set. And then he picked Aztec second. And then later on, he picked Hindustanis. And so the way the draft works is, even though there's 3 games played, you do get to pick 5 civs. Allows for some mind games possibly. And Classic Pro decided to go for the Hindustanis here. So this is one of the more interesting matchups these days because Hindustanis, much like the Gujaras, which Classic Pro just lost with, it really feels like they don't have a lot of weaknesses. They've got cheaper villagers and it gets cheaper throughout every age. They have faster attacking camels. They have full cav archer upgrades, or amazing cav archers if they want to go that route. And even skirmishers or crossbows in castle if they wish to. And now, I say now because it's relatively new, we have the Gulam, And the Gulam is, in theory, a very, very good unit against the Mayans. The Gulam is basically an Eagle Warrior. It does have to be created out of the castle, but they have a bonus against Eagle Warriors, and then they also are an anti-archer unit. So Mayans are either going to go Eagles or Archers. Gulam's probably the go-to unit here for Classic Pro. Now, you look at the map. Looks like a pretty easy map to wall up, which you see a lot with Archer Civs and a lot with Mayans, because Mayans do research Loom right away, which means their villagers are protected, and their walls are cheaper. So I would expect Miguel to play super safe here, but we'll see if he wants to go for any early aggression. So far for him, 4 on wood, building the houses in front of the berries, which is probably the weakest area of his base right here. And pretty solid base as well for Classic Pro. Both players just building houses out in front of their berries right now. Now, Classic Pro does a lot of training with Vinchester. They're very good friends. And I had said last week, if there were any 2 players that I would say are like the best coaches out there, I think I said Tato and Vinchester. I really think those 2, they have a knack for coaching. And if Tato were to be able to commit more time to like take a player under his wing, I think that player would do great things. Of course, assuming they have the talent, right? 2 years ago, Classic Pro was not on this level. He's best friends with Vinch, and I think Vinchester's really helped the guy improve. And Vinchester is incredible with his early barrack play and his builds off of that. So we actually have both players doing that right now. Miguel running forward with his scout to find out what the enemy's up to, and then we have Classic Pro running forward with his scout. And so kind of mirrored plays so far. Obviously, the way these civs play out are very different. But I love how both players are looking to find out if it's going to be a barracks or not. Miguel just hasn't seen that quite yet. And I guess what you could do, because the meta is to go 2 militia for a lot of these guys. So I guess what you could do if you're Classic Pro, you could make the 3rd. Let's see. Because at this point, Miguel doesn't know. Like, now you should know Miguel knows. So Miguel's going to expect it. And a bit of an awkward spot for Miguel because he's trying to come forward. And he does know he needs to keep himself protected here. Okay, very, very important moment. Again, most cases, players are trying to rush to Feudal Age after this. This is a very hard build to execute on. Classic Pro doesn't know where Miguel's militia are, but is expecting them. And then Miguel doesn't know where the militia are, but is expecting them from Classic Pro. And so here is an instance where you should probably not be trying to wall. Miguel realizes. And there's an instance where Miguel could be going in for damage, but you can see the panic has set in now. And Miguel has essentially said, well, man, maybe I shouldn't have gone forward. And now I think it'll be tougher for Miguel. And you can see under here, like, these villagers not working as he has to fight back. I really think that the execution for Classic Pro will be there. And man, this is exactly what Vinchester did in his set against Song Song. Exactly what Vinchester's been doing for the past year, man. Early pressure, put them onto the back foot, and rush right up to Feudal Age. I think this is a lot easier to do with the Hindustanis because the Hindustani villagers are a little bit cheaper. I think that goes a long way. Now, in the end, Miguel will actually take the better engagement here. He is going to push this back. But Miguel doesn't know if Classic Pro is up or not. He might have his suspicions. Obviously, the good thing for him would be that he does have the cheap walls, so he could wall up right now. But it very much looks like a fast castle decision for Miguel. Not something you see every day. And then for Classic Pro, I think Classic Pro is actually going to go into scouts here, guys. He's not actually sent any villagers to gold. Would say that scouts is a little questionable. It could be a bit of a problem if walls are down for Miguel. Miguel running forward with his units right now. He could also lose his villager. He's got to be very careful. Why are we not casting the best of 21 between Hera and Yo? Because I'm casting an event, which is about... the event's more important to me. Let's put it that way. Apologies if you're looking for a cast of that, but didn't really interest me when there seems to be one pretty frequently these days. Big ramifications for the futures of these two's career. Miguel Classic Pro hoping to stay alive in their group. You've got Yo and you've got Hera in other groups. Yo actually did not perform well in his first round. He actually lost 2-1 So, you know, maybe the preparation wasn't there for him. Obviously, one of the big names of this community. But he did get shocked in round 1 against Bruh. Walls are down for Miguel. But, man, that was a lot of walling time. That was a lot of walling time. Also, wasn't able to take 2 deer. He will be safe. And I do think this scout play from Classicpro might not work out if he doesn't have anything else. But he's going to send something else, guys. And he has actually targeted this hill. He wants to go for a tower here. Okay, so scouts will be able to clear this up. And the tower on the houses will be fantastic. He actually will do a lot of damage against this house and potentially break through. So Miguel's got to make a decision here. And most of Miguel's food is on berries right now. So he has to repair the house, but also pull villagers to build this tower. Lovely, lovely pressure from Classicpro. We'll see if Miguel can deal with this. I think Miguel should be able to. But remember, he does not have stone within his walls here, guys. We're going to see a fight. I think for Miguel, all he wants to do is just delay the tower from going up so he can win the tower war. And actually, Miguel kills a villager here. The Classicpro also losing a little bit of HP. He's got 2 spearmen to deal with now. That got completely pushed back. He lost 2 villagers there. Sorry for the YouTube spoiler. Well, it's been on YouTube for a long time. I'm trying. Sorry, I'm just trying to. It's really, spoilers are a tough thing when I have 9 play all 3s a week in Platinum, you know. So at this point, I did stream that like 6 days ago. So in theory, if people ever see this on YouTube, they will have already seen that. But of course, I'm going to do a little video that rounds everything up. Now, here's where it gets interesting, right? So the Hindustani villagers are cheaper. You also have the farm upgrade in already. So all these farms are going to last a long time. There is military that can actually do something and control the map for Classicpro. So I think with the way his eco upgrades are shaping up, I know losing those 2 villagers is painful for him. But I actually think that he's okay here. The struggle for him is going to be, does he know if Miguel's going to send archers out? And I think him seeing this blacksmith will actually tell him that there might be archers coming out. Forgive me, I actually forget. Did he see it? No, he didn't see that. But, you know, applying some pressure for now. Miguel just sitting behind walls. This is by no means a fast castle for Miguel anymore. I think initially he was going to try it. I don't know if he would have actually been able to pull it off if the tower wouldn't have happened. Now he sees the spearman. And yeah, we've got some skirms at home right now for Classicpro. Classicpro not giving up on stone. He's still got 1 villager on stone. But, oh, wait. No, never mind. That's where the other 2 are. Yeah, I guess he's still really looking to deny resources from Miguel as Miguel sits behind his walls. Will he get surprised, though, by these archers? Miguel doesn't seem too interested in moving out right now, to be honest. He is closing in on the resources to click up. So important that he got those berries there. And for Classicpro, I would say if you're going to play open, you should make some outposts. I think outposts are an underrated move here. And sure, eventually he's going to get a tower up. We'll see if Miguel spots it. I think Miguel got Town Watch. Miguel has a lot of vision here. Town Watch might actually be a really big deal here. Classicpro tried to be aggressive. He actually had a great build, but I think what it circles back to for me is Drush into scouts is only good if your opponent stays open. Not something you see Mayans do very frequently. Normally, it's going to be Drush into archers and skirms. If he would have had that, he could have applied pressure to a player who was walled. These scouts have done a whole lot of knocking on the door and not a whole lot else. This tower, though, was perfect. Oh, my goodness, man. This tower is perfect. Miguel does have more wood lines, but still. I'm putting some pressure on him, I think, to actually do damage here because he will be constricted a little bit. Is there a schedule for these games? On my Discord. On my Discord. I can talk a little bit more about what we're going to do here. It's also on the T90 Titans League Discord, so maybe someone can link that for you. But a lot of it's last minute, so I'm doing my best to cover it multiple days a week. Some will be live, some will be recorded games. So this is now a question of, does Classic Pro have the time, right? Miguel's got 90 seconds here. He's played so safe in this game. I love the recognition from him to realize he needed to get the tower up. And I like how relaxed he played. He didn't try and rush it to the net. Oh, there's a hole! Oh, no! No way those scouts actually got in! Dang, man. And now Classic Pro with a little bit of a lifeline here. These scouts will actually get some value. Miguel still will focus on this. And he decides to dive, but Classic Pro gets the tower up. The tower will do a decent amount of damage to these archers. Miguel, though, dives underneath of it. Interesting decision. I actually think this will end up being pretty good for Miguel because he's keeping his opponent off of gold. This obviously not good for Miguel, though. You can tell Classic Pro's distracted. Looks like Miguel's distracted as well, actually. And yeah, there we go. The scout's coming back in. And now it's been 3-2 with the Vil kills. If that didn't happen right there, I think Miguel's sitting pretty. Definitely feels like Classic Pro's got a bit of a chance now. A lot of these crossbows are weak. The skirms could just tempt any of this army away from the tower, and then the tower would actually get some hits in. Still have some quick walls from Miguel over here. The villager could still be in trouble, though. And Classic Pro now in Castle Age, and we have ourselves a game, guys. Good quick walls again from Miguel. He will eventually deal with these scouts, but look what the scouts have done. Miguel's eco is all over the place right now. And there's also army that he wants to send forward that is currently at his base. I think that's the biggest thing about this. In the end, skirms are going to come out, and I think this is going to be dealt with. I know these are just few late skirms, but as I mentioned, a lot of these crossbows are weak. The scouts from Classic Pro still running around, still being a nerd, still being annoying. And that, again, just buying himself a little bit more time. I love that. Ends up getting back on his gold, drops the second town center. Look how much food he has, guys. That's because of the farms we mentioned earlier. And Miguel's going to be kicking himself. Obviously, you just got to put that out of your mind now. But he has got to be kicking himself that he didn't get that house down. Because it seemed like that army was never going to get through. Now, what he does have is a really good position because Classic Pro is opting for eco. And Classic Pro doesn't have Elite Skirm yet. So Bodkinero is now coming in for these skirms. Elite Skirm is an upgrade that takes a long time to research. It's heavy on wood and it's heavy on gold. So, Miguel, he's still in a good spot. He's actually now outside of his base. That tower is something that will annoy him later on, but he'll have his second town center. And normal skirmishers, guys, they will die pretty quickly to crossbow. You really need to get Elite Skirm. And if you want to feel untouchable, you need to get the final armor as well. So, skirmishers are a tricky unit with the time windows that crossbows have. Love this from Classic Pro, though. I mentioned it earlier. Instead of full walling, just add an outpost. So he walled and had made an outpost on both sides, but didn't try and go for the full walls. He is going to have Elite Skirmisher now, and I think Miguel might have to consider switching into more Eagles, or maybe even go for some forward siege here. Mass Gulam seems really tricky for Mesosivs. You basically have to go militia line, don't you? Well, I have seen... So let me put it to you this way, Smallhead. I have seen 2 instances... Maybe it was 3 instances. I think 3 instances now where it has been Mayans versus Hindustanis. And Elite Plumed Archer has won the game every time. I think Plumed Archer's getting +1 attack versus infantry is a very nice bonus in Castle Age. And then Elite Plumed Archer getting additional +2 bonus is nice. I think Elite Gulam has 75 HP. And they take 3 damage when they're fully upgraded versus a fully upgraded plume. So if you have, that means if you have a group of like 30 or 40 plumes, you're going to be killing those Gulams fairly easily. But I mean, it's not so simple. I would agree. Particularly because the Eagle line is kind of out of question, I guess, because Gulams have a bonus against Eagles. It definitely puts you on a bit of a timer. But it would be more of an issue, I think, on maps like Arena. But on an open map, it's kind of like, you know how everyone says Goths should destroy the Mayans at mid to low elo, but they never do at high elo because it takes Goths time? I mean, Hindustanis have a lot of other bonuses, so it's maybe not a fair comparison. But I actually think the Mayans are still very good in this matchup. Now, Miguel's continued to stay on stone, so clearly he's thinking about a castle. And Classic Pro's just been sitting at home, and now he's thinking about Cav Archers. Really hard for him to consider the Gulam because his stones are kind of exposed. And it's 59 villagers versus 56. Miguel definitely with the lead in this game. But with a lot of elite skirmishers out there, Miguel's got to be careful. It's not like his eagles are that strong. He doesn't have any upgrades on these things, so I think that he could maybe get called out. Bear the Engineer. I don't know. I mean, I do not believe Classicpro is fighting in the war. I have spoken to him. I know exactly where he's from. I spoke at length to him, actually, like 2 months ago about everything and telling him my thoughts are with him and all that. It's such a poor situation, right? Particularly, you know, the weird thing is, too, is like Vinchester is Russian and Classicpro's Ukrainian. They're like best buds and training partners, you know? So to have all that happening is really devastating. But no, he has been playing a lot of Age of Empires, you know, over the last couple months. So I know there was some question, I think, previously on his safety. I think everything's good now for him, but he's made the best of a crappy situation, let's put it that way, and he's been beasting it up in age. So I'm happy for him with that. Excited to see where his career goes. Now we start to see the Eagle upgrades for Miguel. So he's kept his numbers alive. And now we start to see Classicpro think about finally pushing out. Now, I think this tower is going to be so nice because he kind of has an idea of... Okay, so let's look at it from Classicpro's point of view, okay? Gold, gold, and then the rest of this is all open where the stone is. So Classicpro has pretty good vision. If he starts to see that Miguel sends everything over this way, he can head over to the other side, right? So he can head over to the other side, and I think he's going to do that now that he's got Cav Archers. Hansa, I agree to keep politics out of things for the most part. I know you guys come here as an escape for that, but I'm not going to agree with your tone on that. Again, having spoken to Classicpro, man, it's a very real thing, and he's having a rough time, so I think you should be a little bit more considerate, but we can drop it at that. How's that sound? we can move on and just talk about the game now. But Classicpro picking off these Eagles, now going to switch over to this side. Important moment for Miguel, because Miguel really wants to drop that castle now. And again, just having the vision and the knowledge that Miguel's over here and being able to switch to the other side is such a nice thing right now for Miguel. Now, sorry, not for Miguel, for Classicpro. Now, Miguel is sending a few Eagles. It's very awkward for Classicpro to fully micro this Cav Archer army and also deal with this. And Miguel is taking this opportunity now. And he's dropped the castle on the hill. So, great job from Classicpro to start switching back and forth. He's actually taken a nice little eco lead because of all this. But Miguel, he can start to mix in the plumed archers now, which I think is the ideal unit. And overall, you know, this was dealt with for the most part. Obviously, like a thorn in the side, right? Just to have one archer there. But yeah, ballistics on the way for him. 84 villagers versus 87 right now. And we still haven't seen Classicpro consider really locking down a stone. He is going to drop a TC here now. So let's see how Miguel wants to play this. I am concerned that he's not making plumes at the moment. But actually, that's a dumb caster statement. Should you really be concerned when his opponent doesn't even have a castle yet? Probably not. Now, this is super freaking annoying. This is annoying, but at the end of the day, Miguel's got a pretty good mass. Now, how many people here saw Jordan versus Classicpro last week? Some people probably did. If you want a good set from the first round, I would suggest watching that. Classicpro, spoilers, did beat Jordan 2-1. Not many people expected that. And he actually had one of his wins with the Hindustanis. And what he did in that game, very similarly to this, excuse me, is he was on Cav Archers, and then he went all in Castle Age with Light Cav to try and push back heavy skirm play. I think right now, he feels like he needs a little bit more than just the Cav Archers, but the concern would be is that his opponent's not making skirmishers, so the Light Cav play won't be quite as strong. Miguel, though, is trying to build up towards Plumed Archers, and that production is only going to come out of this castle, right? So, doesn't quite have his mass, has his other group over here. Miguel really hoping to lock down the left side, and it's a good castle, but he had to have his army here And Classicpro is going to dive. It's just, is this actually a good dive? I don't know if he knew this town center was here. And you could tell there's a bit of regret from him now. But he feels like he's on a bit of a timer. I think he senses that Miguel is up. You can sometimes tell because the score will dip if someone goes to Imp. And Miguel just chewing up the army anyways. And what an important castle to get up here for Miguel. He's protecting this gold, though he does need to get back to work. He's now protected this stone. Classicpro could have some massive problems against Imperial Age armies here. Someone beat Gulams with plumes a few days ago. I forget who it was. Well, Viper did it, and Jordan did it in a ranked game recently. But yeah, in terms of like T90 Titans League, it was definitely that set between Viper, Say My Name. I really think plumed archers, I mean, they've always been a bit of an underrated unit. I'd say over the past year or two, because everyone just went Arbalest. But it feels like you need to have plumed archers in this matchup simply due to that extra bonus damage you get against infantry. But man, Classicpro has shot up. He's at 116 villagers. It's 96 for Miguel. We've seen how many idols he's had. And there's yellow dots everywhere. There's the tower. There's 2 light cav here. There's a small force here. He's still running around with this force. He's still taking engagement with this force. And now he's going to be able to click up to Imp, but I can't help but feel like, did he forget a building here? Oh, God, he doesn't have a building. He's got his university, and now he's got to scramble down the next building, which will delay him even further here. Also, chat glitched out on screen. That's lovely. The plumed archers, though, have Bracer. Chemistry's on the way. Miguel will have a 3rd castle soon. A really good fight for Miguel here as well, and you can tell things have just fallen apart for Classicpro. Again, it worked for him before to go light cav archers against Jordan. But remember, Jordan in that game, if you watched it, he was heavy on skirmisher at that time. And Miguel didn't have a unit that was really countered by the light cav. And one of the few weaknesses for the Hindustanis is the fact that they do not get knights. So, you know, I think what's great for the Hindustanis is they can pretty much do everything else. I mean, they could go all the way to Hussar as well here in Imp. Full blacksmith upgrades. But the Gulam hasn't really been a conversation here. That has not been a unit that has been possible for Classicpro until now. And Miguel looking to finish this quickly. Miguel with another castle. Still has so much stone. He's got this stone. He's got this stone. Also has 2 relics at home. If Miguel could open up his debut in T90 Titans League with a quick 3-0 here, this would be massive. It also is, it's interesting when you think about the group because Classicpro had a great result in his first set, which led to a bad result for Jordan. So, like, after this, we'll have to talk more about it. Let's say Miguel wins this game and it's even just a 2-1. That means there are a lot of other players who are on the end of 1-2s in the group. And who knows, of course, what's going to happen for him next. Tons of speculation. Castle here for Classicpro. His population is still pretty reasonable here. But Miguel knows that he can't play the defensive castle route with the next of the castle, with the rest of the castles. He says, I'm going for the kill because I know I need to treb down those castles. And it would be really tough to protect the trebuchets in any other situation. I think there's a lot of reasons why you would want to play safe castles in any other matchup. Just place them on hills across the map, get all the relics, get all the gold, and eventually just deny everything with army. But he knows he needs to target down those castles. And look at Classicpro. He's getting Elite Gulam for what will be 4 Gulams. And he's just lost so much control. Really tough for him right now. And for the second straight game, Miguel gets the win. It was a great game here. I'm trying to think back to where things went wrong for Classicpro. And honestly, I have to disagree with Classicpro's choice of going scouts. So I want to go back and I want to talk about this because sometimes I get excited about stuff and you guys, you know, you might get excited with me. And then 3 minutes later, you're like, well, come on, T90. You're the expert. Why'd you even get excited, right? Okay, so we talked about, I mean, I was freaking out when I saw him take a semi-decent fight and he delayed Miguel's uptime, right? So I think here's the play. You never go scouts here. I'll tell you exactly what Vinchester does. It's really interesting. So what Vinchester does in these types of situations is instead of the second lumber camp, he actually sends these villagers over to the same lumber camp. So he saves the 100 wood there. And then instead of having 6 on food, he would have like still 3 or 4, and he would have 3 villagers on gold. And so if you do it early enough, I mean, we'd have to rewind, right? There was a fight somewhere around here. If you do it early enough, while you're on the way to feudal, instead of taking this fight, like I heavily encourage you guys watch the Arabia game between Song Song and Vinch, okay? So what he does is Miguel wants to take a fight. You just back up. You're making your second and third militia, or I guess it'd be third and fourth. You go into man-at-arms, and you drop a range. Think about how much time. Let me look at this. Okay, Miguel's in feudal, or Classicpro's in feudal now at 10:06. 2.5 minutes of time to pressure walls with some man-at-arms, and then at least get some range up. Getting skirmishers, getting archers, and applying pressure. I think it would have been a lot more successful than going forward with a tower. He clearly felt the need to have something ranged, which is why he went into the tower. I believe that was a mistake against the Mayans, who you know are going to be walled. I think playing into the ranged army earlier would have been the play there. Ultimately, was a good game, but I think for Classicpro, he had an opportunity there and he didn't take it. And then there was desperation there with the light cav. Miguel was able to defend. Didn't actually lead in the total resources collected, but just had so much army, took cost-effective trades, and had a lot of gold and stone secured there. All right, so a bit of speeding up, guys. And we have the final game in this play all 3. We have Classicpro, who's playing as the Japanese. And his very first civ pick was Japanese. He's up against Miguel, who's gone for the Persians. The map here is cross. And you have 4 pawns. In those pawns, you've got fish. And that is generally the focus. Now, interestingly enough, Classicpro lost his cross game against Jordan. That was the only game that he had lost in this event prior to this set. And so we'll see what he's able to do this time. And it was a really fun instance, actually, where you had both players trying to sneak villagers onto each other's pond in that game. And Jordan ended up doing the better job. I think Classicpro lost his villager. He was trying to sneak. And I think Jordan was able to get his dock down on Classicpro's pond. Classicpro kind of in the middle of 2 ponds, so probably end up going to the north, though. And Miguel very much closer to this one. And Persians are good here, guys. They start with plus 50 wood, plus 50 food. And so what Miguel did was he sent villagers to wood a little bit earlier. So already starting with more wood means that he's going to get that dock up slightly faster than Classicpro. The Classicpro, of course, had to keep the traditional 6 or so on food to keep villagers working at the start. But Japanese are so strong. Their flexibility is just insane. The cheap mining camps, mills, and lumber camps means you save a lot of wood. So at about mid-feudal, I would say that's where Japanese start to feel just as strong, if not stronger. If the opponent gets on your pawns, you also have very strong fishing ships, which gives you the time to recover. Any other civilization, I don't think you really have the time if you get surprised. I think that's going to be the key. Will players be surprised? T90, do you know which player was the 25th seed in T90 Titans League, or which player is #1 seed in gold? Off the top of my head, I don't know who that is. But I want to say it was Valis. I believe it was Valis. I believe it was the Finnish player. Or maybe Fire? Something like that. Yeah, so this is going to be a different game than what we had seen in the Classicpro Jordan set, because the villagers are protected. Good timing from Miguel to do this. That is the target with the scouts. Classicpro might attack the palisade just to force Miguel into a little repair here. Miguel will repair it, and he says, yeah, guess I'll just build this now. Yeah, so Classicpro has found Miguel, and Miguel has not found Classicpro yet, but he's determined that the enemy is not over here, and so he must know it's over here. He'll probably run along the shoreline, find the dock, and then try and find everything else here. I think Sato is like 27th in the rankings, which put him like 3rd seed or something in gold, but Robo would actually be the guy to ask. And since Robo's in chat, he'll be able to tell you. I'll actually be casting Sato set in gold later on today, if you guys want to stick around for that. Sato versus Sebastian, a 20-year-old Uruguayan up-and-comer. Now, guys, the thing that I think is the most dangerous when up against the Japanese is not how strong they are in water, but it's their man-at-arm play. Because that wood savings is wild. Normally, what players are doing is they've got 2 lumber camps and a mining camp, kind of regardless. So that is 300 wood for any civ but the Japanese. Miguel, he's up already, by the way. What's his plan going to be? This is really fast. Yeah, the Japanese, if they go for the 2 lumber camps and the mining camp, not only are they saving the resources and can lead to some extra fishing ships, but they can get the barracks down. They can go for the man-at-arm play. And so I think Classicpro is trying to hide this decision from Miguel right now. But Miguel is locked in, guys. I think we take for granted, at least some people do, how good the scouting is at this level. And Miguel has been on top of it today. He knows exactly where the dock is, and he knows exactly what the threat could be in this matchup. So he's thinking now this could lead to man-at-arms. Honestly, right now, I think Miguel is just going to wall up and play into archers here. He's not sneaking a villager. He might be a little paranoid because Classicpro's scout is down here, but I think he spotted that. And the hope for Miguel might be to get to the next stage faster and then get the extra attack and speed on his scout and be able to kill this. Classicpro looking for the same thing, looking to see if there's a barracks. And at this point, he might be thinking, oh, great, he's not going to have militia, and I will. But it'll be interesting here, because look at this. Miguel is hunting for that. He will get the hits, and now he goes into the range. So, yeah, Miguel understands the strength of the Japanese, is not trying to fight on water, instead is going to try and get that early defense here on land. Now, in the end, okay, we have a pause here. This is live, so hopefully the pause isn't too long. Obviously, Classicpro can save his scout because in 6 seconds, he's going to get his speed, but a very weak scout could lead to some big things. And now Miguel's going to hunt for those militias. So Miguel he just knows. Also, look at Classicpro. He's fishing on the shoreline just in case Miguel would sneak a dock there. Obviously, slightly more inefficient, but maybe he's just scouting with it. We'll see. But okay, big moment here for Miguel. Again, he knows what's coming. There was just a pause. Sometimes that can ruin your train of thought here, but I think this is just sloppy from Miguel. And now Classicpro comes in with the scout, and this is what the man-at-arms can do. This is going to be so hard to protect. Everything else is going to be hard to protect as well. And Miguel now has to get the palisades and the house down. Ugh. No way he actually got this. He has to hit the house. No way he actually got this. Are you kidding me? I actually think the palisade will go down really quick, though, with the Japanese man-at-arms. Like, really fast. Like, if he doesn't repair this now, he's dead. Woo! Oh, my God. I mean, the archers are on the way, guys. What a great save from Miguel there. The scout's very weak, remember, so that's not an issue. Man, I think losing 1 villager is super manageable. Losing more would have been painful. Great job from Miguel, who has to probably delete the house now to get his villagers to work efficiently. Man, I mean, games can be won or lost against the Japanese man-at-arm rush on this map. And those man-at-arms have to be chased home now. Miguel also fishing on the shoreline. So he's able to scout for the same thing we talked about. And we'll see if players want to take the other pawns. Classicpro keeping his scout alive is a pretty big deal here. But Miguel's scout being on full HP means that Classicpro actually had to add a spearman. And he has to respect that scout's HP so he can't add as many skirms. It's just a starting scout, but players are going to get value. But speaking of value, Classicpro on top of it. And Miguel feeling a little vulnerable right now, I think. He is going to try and use his scout. And like I said, the scout helping out in a big way here. Now, keep an eye on the fishing ship number. They both have actually added 1 more. You will occasionally see farms as well. Some players will mix in the farms. Other players are just going to go for more fish. It's always really complicated, and it does depend, as I say, with literally everything in life. Miguel's scouts still in a good enough position to get value, but the man-at-arms have gotten quite a bit of value as well. In the end, though, they're going to get whittled down. And so Miguel's fast feudal into archer defense has worked out in so many different ways. The scout has weakened Classicpro's scout and now contributed to some kills. And now he's the one who's putting Classicpro under some pressure here. And Classicpro falling back to another archer range, realizing he needs more production. And that MVP scout is out of here right now. Now, Brazilians are known for their house walling. You'll see this a lot from the Brazilian pros. Dogal. You'll see it from Fire. You'll see it from Miguel. And I like it over here on this side, but I'd love to see maybe an outpost as well, as he's now finally lost the scout. Let's see if Classicpro senses something's up here, because I think he just caught a glimpse of this. He did research Town Watch, which gives you more vision on all your buildings, and what a tech that is, and what a find for him. 14 on food for Miguel. We have 17 on food right now for Classicpro, and Classicpro, as he will try and clear up these archers. The archers are actually staying in the minimum range. Great micro from Miguel, but Classicpro's over here now. So I think Miguel's going to have some issues now, guys. I mean, he hasn't expanded to another pond. He is probably going to try and rush up to Castle Age. He's floating a lot of gold, which means he'll probably buy food. And it's double archer range production right now for Classicpro. He's even going to mix in horse collar. So yeah, in the long term here, as we're going to see farms and fishing ships for Classicpro, Classicpro's position will probably be better. But Miguel is hoping to make it to Castle Age a little bit faster. And hoping that he's going to have enough to deal with whatever's coming his way. Look at the difference in the vision, though, if you do not have Town Watch. It's crazy, isn't it? At Classicpro showing up to the golds. Miguel's villager is kind of blending in there with the market, so I'm not sure if Classicpro will see it. I was half joking when I said it, but the villager is kind of awkward and hard to see there. And now Miguel shows up with an army, and Miguel can actually push this back. Just don't move, dude. Just don't move. Blend in. I wonder if Miguel will even find it. I'm very curious. I mean, obviously, he's going to check idols. That's a very common thing, to check for idle villagers. But that villager is just hiding there in the market. And unfortunate for Classicpro is you have a spearman underneath the TC right now. Miguel, it wasn't even fully walled, but he had the army, and now he finds the villager. And a villager is safe. What a play. And what an uptime here for the Brazilian. Overall, he's had the better of the KDs. Or the KD, I guess. Not really KDs. There's not multiple. Oh, there is multiple. You have the Eco KD, where he's not on top, and then you have 1310 now, the military KD. But I don't know. I mean, it doesn't feel like the faster Castle Age is going to give him a ton right now. He doesn't have a lot of army to upgrade. And he still has to protect himself here. I mean, he is really going to struggle to lock down this gold. Does he know? There's also a hole between this palisade and the house. I'm pretty sure. Yep, there's a hole. And oh my god! Is this Viper or is this Miguel? And you might think he still lost a villager, but guys, there's a big difference between losing 1 and losing 5. Then also having to be pulled off of your gold. What a great play from him. I just kind of thought he was a goner there. But Classicpro is still fine. Classicpro has clicked up to Castle Age. I prefer his position because he's got more army, but will that change here? The micro from Miguel is spectacular. The micro from Classicpro also not half bad as he tries to run away now. And I guess these skirms here will pick off as many archers as possible. Man, what a great cross game here. This is awesome. This is still open, by the way. And Classicpro still has the scout to scout everything. So we'll see if he scouts this area. I mean, Miguel hasn't even looked over here. He's not even actively fishing with his fishing ships. It's just, I mean, they're so close together. I'm just loving the resources for Classicpro. In fact, if we take a quick look, he has brought in a lot more in the way of resources. I think rushing to Castle Age that quick has actually hurt Miguel. And so Japanese, they don't have half bad knights. They have full Castle Age upgrades in the Castle Age. We're going to see Classicpro have a primary focus on archers, which I think is the correct play because Japanese have better archers in the long run. And then he's going to mix in a couple knights to deal with any skirmishers that are out there for Miguel. This is going to be full-on defense and land boom now for Miguel. And Classicpro is going to have full control. There's no way Miguel is going to be able to dominate with just skirmishers out there. Classicpro lost the first 2 games. You play 5 rounds. That's it. He's already played 1 prior to this, and he had a good result. But I think if he were to get 3-0'd here, it puts him right back to square one. And players he has yet to play within his group would be Doubt, the Viper, and Say My Name. And maybe 1 out of those 3, you give him an edge. So it doesn't matter if you have one round that's great. You have to be consistent. That's the whole point. We have a TC here from Miguel and this villager hoping to house wall this. We'll see. But can Classicpro get a win here? If he can get this win, I think both players will actually be reasonably happy. And Classicpro realized the pathing change there and realized why. Sees the villager, kills the villager. He'll be through. But Miguel has had the town centers for longer. And Persian TCs do work really fast as well. So I think what he needs right now is he's actually rushing over to complete this TC. I think what he needs is a siege workshop. More than anything, he needs siege. Siege and monks is what he's going to need to get here. That TC will actually complete for him. Now, this is also a time where you have to think about the longevity of the fish. Because your initial pond will start to run out. That's intentional. I don't like maps where you don't have to mix in normal eco as well. I'm a big fan of having to combine everything. And so that's what I did originally. I think I started that trend with this map. I made the tweaks to original cross, I think back in 2020, maybe 2019. And I've kind of stuck with that at this stage. I prefer it. I don't like to see one person lose a pond and have that be the whole game, you know? Like, I think that the other aspects matter a lot. Both players doing a great job with that. And we're seeing here how Feudal Age skirmishers aren't really that effective against Castle Age crossbows. Over here we have some pressure with crossbows and now with knights. But this TC was really important for Miguel because he could actually take this gold as he pulls off of this one. He just doesn't have the army control right now, but he is still trying to mix some crossbows. Obviously, in theory, he could use crossbows on the crossbows here, and then he could use the monks on the knights, but it's just so much work. So much work, and things are going to fall apart if you have to focus like he's focusing in all these different spots. Saying all that, I'm a little surprised to see how late his reaction was here, because he did just lose 2 villagers on that side. But I guess he's got the spearmen here. He's got the crossbows here. I would love to see some siege from Classicpro as well. Classicpro obviously has to be careful because things like this are going to happen. If he's trying to look in a bunch of different spots, he's adding farms at home. He's adding economy. And Miguel probably happy to have killed a few crossbows there. And if he converts 2 knights, this is the first time he showed the monks. Oh, this is huge. That should be 2 conversions. Oh, that's amazing. That is amazing for him. 72 eco with quite a few idols, though. In fact, the total idle time, guys, is 1 hour and 5 minutes for Miguel. Classicpro just crossed 10 minutes, so 6 times the idle time for Miguel. But he's adding TC number 4. And he also has a lot of safe space now for farms because the army's all been dealt with. He's rewalled this as well. He's even going to try and get a sneaky counterattack out. It's really this hill that's the problem for him right now. This hill's the problem. He's dealt with the knights. Now he's going to see crossbows and probably run away. But he's also going to add siege for that. So the fact that he's been able to get stone where he can almost make a castle. The fact that he still has 2 golds to take and he's just giving up the main gold and notices it. Tells me he's in a pretty good spot. But as I say that, guys, Classicpro, who's killed 7 eco in this game, he dives in with this army, and he wants to go up to the Imperial Age. He has ballistics already in. His focus is going to be crossbows, it seems. Now, there's a chance that he will react to these crossbows that just hit him and then make a mistake over here. Oh, man, it's going to be so tough to get out. Dodge back. Oh, that's so good. That's so good, but Miguel's repairing, and Miguel's trying to guess which side he's going to go to. Get him here. Boom! It's a big shot, and now he has to run away, or does he? Oh, it's such a rough position to be in. Oh, man, and more crossbows go down for Classicpro, and that's the last thing you want here, right? Because this is the army you want in the next age, and Miguel's through. Miguel actually made it through. There was a hole here. So 87 villagers for Miguel. He's defended beautifully at home. Honestly, I'm so shocked that he's been able to defend so well. And Classicpro unable to really make the use of all the military at the end of the day. I mean, 8-3 KD with eco is not bad for Miguel. The overall KD is 48-28. And he will actually get some value here as well. Also, the idle time will shoot up for Classicpro here because he's had to pull a few villagers away. And Miguel will start to stabilize that farming eco. I think that's the most important thing for him right now. He'll castle this hill, which should protect some of this area in the back. Classic Pro was still 1 minute away from the Imperial Age, but no villagers on stone for Classic Pro, so won't be able to get a castle out right away. Classic Pro should be able to deal with this. He has ballistics. Miguel does not. And there's this problem that I have with the Persians where the TCs work too fast and it feels like you never have food. That's a bonus for the Persians where their TCs work faster starting in Feudal, and I think it's like 10% faster in Castle or something. But anyways, when you have town centers, you want to produce out of them all the time. And it never feels like you have the resources to go in. So I actually think Miguel should probably just delay villager production when he sees Classic Pro as an imp. Just stop it. Place defensive castles and just wait. And actually, you see this now. He's completely stopped his production. He might even buy some food. And yeah, he's just going to scramble down castles. Because he knows Classic Pro is going to go for the kill. And he knows it's going to be crossbowmen. Still delaying his production. I think this is the right call. Classic Pro coming this way. Now, weakness of Japanese guys is that they do not get bombard cannon. A lot of civs will not go to stone in this position. Think Ethiopians, for example. As this castle is going to get some nice hits. They won't have to go to stone to get siege, and so they can go for chemistry, which is coming in, and then they can go for bombard cannon. But as Classic Pro went this way, he ran into a castle. Over here, he's now run into a castle. And Miguel is going skirmisher. And Miguel should have enough skirmishers to hold off against a small group of Arbalest. It's just the big groups that'll still be a problem for him. Now, another issue I have with Persians in this spot is you do not get bracer on your skirmishers. So you're trying to go elite skirmisher, but that's not really a great thing for you. And a lot of people think about the commander on upgrade and how that means your crossbows only cost wood. But even then, you're just making crossbows. So your killer unit is going to be a knight. And that can kind of be canceled out of the equation when you're up against Japanese that are known for great archers, but also the halb switch. So Classic Pro's faster imp here, despite being behind Danico, has given him a ton of control. Miguel having to go into skirmishers. But man, his castles have done a really good job of defending him. I have to say that. There's still been a lot of idols. Idol here, idols here, idols over here. But he is going to have the economy lead. We'll see how many buildings he has, though, because right now I'm only seeing a couple archer ranges, a couple more on the way up, and the Rams are coming in for Classic Pro with Capped Ram on the way. Can you get enough knights out? Think of all the upgrades you'd need. You would need the first and second and third armor, and you need the knights. I don't think Miguel can do that. He needs skirms and maybe his own siege to do enough here. That's going to be the key. Classic Pro's got so many Arbalest. So many Arbalest. The KD is going to be looking better and better for him. Now Miguel has to wait a minute before he has final armor. Then finally his skirms will feel decent. And Miguel's been playing defensive, defensive, defensive here. He's stuck in this corner. And that's not the case for Classic Pro. He can expand. Obviously, he has no defense, so if Miguel ever gets to a point where he can counterattack, it's going to be a problem. It almost feels like Miguel needs Onager right now. Feels like Onager and Skirmisher would be enough. Would force Classic Pro into something other than Arbalest. But we'll see. The Skirms having full armor, though, does mean they tank a lot of shots. And we now see Pike upgrade here for Classic Pro as he's thinking that he's going to need some pikemen for probably a Cavalier switch. I don't think he knows. Like, I don't think this is necessarily a bad play, but I don't think he knows what Miguel's going to go for. I think Miguel should go bombard cannons, too. That's something Persians actually get. Actually, forget Onager for a second. I think it's got to be bombard cannons, and he's going to save up. Having the extra HP on your town centers is certainly going to be helpful here. But you need more skirms. 7 skirms is not enough against 35 Arbalest. If I'm Classic Pro, I just keep diving. I just keep going in hard. So you don't want to get too close to the town center. Feels like Miguel needs these 2 bomber cannons to get value. Otherwise, you could have big problems. He has used this treb to take out one of the siege workshops, which has delayed things. We are now going to see Classic Pro head to stone, it looks like, as well, as he's getting some of the mining upgrades. 130 pop versus 150 pop. The first bomber cannon's out. It does land a shot. And notice what Classic Pro does. He says, I need to kill that. But he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. And the skirms get some great hits as they ran in there to chase the bomber cannons. And all of a sudden, we're starting to see Classicpro falter a little bit. No transition coming in for him for anything that counters this. And so the Rams are starting to go down. Miguel's using the skirms to focus down the Arbalest. The Rams are super awkward, but the skirms are getting the job done. It's 26 food for both. Miguel needs space right now. That's what he needs. He needs space for more farms. He needs time to breathe. It's full-on micro for him at the moment. Still no more bombard cannons, so there's only going to be 3 back here. I still think you could go in with your arbs and try and kill them, but you have to kill them. That's the thing. You have to take them out, otherwise it's a risk. Like before was a great example of how bad it can be if you dive in for them. I don't know, man. Like, Classicpro's still going in for TCs. He didn't have any vills on gold. Like, he's not looking at home. Oh, my goodness. Like, he's really struggling to keep his economy running. And Miguel's still making skirms. He's fighting back the Rams with his villagers. What a crazy hold. Still keeping the bomber cannons in action. You start to ask yourself if you're Classicpro, should I be doing something more? But if he doesn't have auto farm on, that tells me that he is fully focused on Arbalest and wants to win this with Arbalest, maybe Trebuchets. Look at the panic, guys. 32 on stone right now. 32 on stone. So he is like desperate. Like everything's going crazy. He's going a mile a minute, focusing fully on the micro. But has Miguel held, I guess. And another attack round from Miguel. No way. This is crazy, man. This is crazy. An important thing to remember when you look at this push start to fail for Classicpro, because people are going to ask questions on, other units and whatnot. The only reason it was this successful was because his focus was all in on this. So if you start to think about doing other things, then your initial push is not going to be quite as successful. So that's the really tricky thing on this game. Now, what we'll have is Miguel's going to make a crap ton of farms. Like, you're going to look somewhere, and yeah, here come the farms. Because now he has space and time to think about it. He's going to make more trebs. He's going to make more bombard cannons. And what he would be vulnerable up against would actually be a cav switch. But Japanese do not get the final armor on their cav. So it's actually not a great play with Japanese. Japanese past early Imperial Age are not a civilization that really feels that strong. They don't get siege ram. They don't get final armor on their cav. Yes, their infantry's good. But just not as great as maybe some other civs. I'm not saying Persians are necessarily that great either, but at least they get siege ram. At least they get bombard cannon. And Miguel with these 2 knights will start to pick away here. Those 2 knights have been out there for a long time. And Miguel's about to push right back with his own type of death ball here. And I mean, we actually have some samurai here for Classicpro, but Miguel has even mixed in some gunpowder for that. And I think Miguel is going to get a 3-0 result here, guys. It's 145 pop for both. Okay, I shouldn't speak too soon. I'm sorry. I really shouldn't speak too soon because the skirms aren't in position. The bombard cannons could go down. Again, at what cost? At what cost? If you do the math, it's still probably worth it. But what's the momentum going to look like here? Oh, man, this is still so tricky. Another bombard cannon goes down. There's still a Treb here for Miguel. We have Rams for Classicpro, though. Both players have lost some expensive units over the last couple moments. I'd love to see Classicpro repair this castle. You know he's got the resources for it. He's had 35 on stone for a long time. Also kill those knights, by the way. And Miguel now needs to get out of here with his Treb, which he won't be able to do. Holy crap, man. Holy crap, what a game. Would love to see Miguel get a couple stables on the sides and start to raid, because right now Classicpro doesn't really have an answer to that. And maybe just stick solely on bombard cannons. But in order to tech switch, you need a lot of upgrades. You don't want to be pushing out with units before you have the upgrades, so it's really tricky. And so it is just going to be skirmisher, hand cannon, bombard cannon against Arbalest, not many of them, and samurai for Miguel, as he again needs to focus and save his units here. Big attack rounds? No. Classicpro runs away. Miguel realizes he needs to respect this. I do love how the hand cannons are on the back. If the samurai ever getting close enough, the hand cannons shoot down the infantry. It feels like, as Miguel actually is making an elephant right now. Which, wait, what? He's making an elephant. Is he making an elephant to protect his trebs? I think he is. Holy crap, that's not cheap, but he needs something, I guess. Anyways, I'll keep an eye on that. As the Arbalest count's gone up, the Samurai count's gone up, but these are not elite Samurai. And these Arbalests are finding it increasingly difficult to find spots to hit. It's 150 pop for both. The Elephant does not save one of the Trebs. Actually, I think 2 Trebs might have gone down there. So the Elephant wasn't enough. There's now Scouts there. It's only Scouts because Miguel's so focused on this. Classicpro continues to threaten. But guys, Classicpro's starting to go into skirms now. He has corrected his eco as well. I mean, his farming count is back up. He's going to have a castle here. Miguel will have Trebs on that, though, so that'll be tricky. Castle does go down there for Classicpro, which frees up the stone for Miguel to take, possibly. What a ridiculous game. But can Classicpro stop this death ball? This skirm hand cannon death ball. He needs to stop it. It's not elite Samurai. And he might not have the castles pretty soon. So if the Samurai don't work now, he's not going to have them anymore. And he just can't really get in close enough. There's enough hand cannons for Miguel to be able to push back the Samurai. Actually, as I say that, there's not that many of them. It's just the bombard cannons that are getting the kills. Miguel does have to back away. The castle will likely go down. The Samurai, they are going down as well. Even with imp armor, it doesn't look like there's quite enough of them. Oh, this is so close, man. The bombard cannons have been the difference, though. If I were to talk about everything in this game, I wouldn't have the time. But I think the main difference here in these imp fights have been the bombard cannons. Because, man, that Arbalest push was strong until the bombard cannons showed up. Uh-oh, 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 uh-oh! See, this is what I mean. He's tech switching. So he's starting to mix in other things. Wait a second. Suddenly there's no skirms here. Suddenly some of the bombard cannons have gone down. Guys, this is so messy right now. And Classicpro still trying to take a castle out on this side. Miguel now has to react. He is making light cav. He will repair. I think light cav could be the difference maker. We could maybe see some raids from Classicpro on the right side. This is a ridiculous game. He's trying to sort out his eco and get some upgrades he could have had earlier. He should know that there weren't many... Oh, big shots. But there weren't many skirms here last time. And he's now making his own skirms. And the skirms are actually a great addition. Still weak against the bombard cannons, but I like it. The Rams won't work on this side, but now Classicpro, he's like, I'll go for Halberdier then. I already had Pikemen before, so now I know I need some trash units there. Will he be able to keep this Trebuchet firing, though? It doesn't look like it. Miguel has actually swung his Trebs around to the left as well. And Castle Age armor coming in, and now Hussar coming in. 50 on food for Miguel. Now I think is a good time to get the Commander on upgrade, by the way. Wasn't something that I would have liked before. I think having some crossbows out against the Halbs would be very useful. Still always very questionable if there's going to be skirms, though. And anytime Miguel moves out with his siege unprotected, he might be regretting it. And oh man, the bombard cannons. I think he tried to loop them to the left. Instead, they went right to the destination. And the Trebs as well in this workshop are going to go down for Miguel as well. Classicpro, 180 population. Miguel, 150. Miguel wide open for any potential raids here in the middle, too. So he has to keep a close eye on all of this. What a ridiculous game. But now it feels like the most important area is right here. Now, we are going to see these units run into the middle where Miguel's vulnerable. So I didn't think Classicpro would have the guts to do this or the recognition to know he could do this. But this is going to be some amazing damage. But also, on this side, this is going to be some amazing damage. The Hussar upgrades are flying in. The Hussars themselves are going to fly in with their wings. And the Trebs continue to push forward. And Classicpro needs to stop these siege pushes from taking out his buildings. At the same time, though, Miguel needs an answer to this. So suddenly the Hussars are needed in another position. And Classicpro's eco counts at 139. Still making villagers. His military counts at 55 now. Still killing units. And Miguel's suddenly looking very fragile despite having 2,600 gold. He does pull back here a bit, but these Japanese Halbs are fully upgraded and they melt cavalry. Both players have gold. A lot of it, man. And I think, like, if Miguel doesn't sort out this right now, Classicpro is eventually going to get a mass going for this castle. So that's the key. Classicpro realizes he's doing damage. He's split up where he can as well. He's been as annoying as possible. Look at his vision. Look at how he's got all these tiny groups. This is normally where you need a castle for Trebs, guys. But he doesn't actually have a castle in that area to make trebuchets to push this. Is he going to go Elite Samurai? Honestly, I prefer... maybe he should go Champion with these resources. How do you spend these resources if you're Japanese right now? I think with the barracks, Champion might actually be the play. But we'll see if supplies ends up coming in. We'll see if that's even needed. Sometimes when players are fully popped, they'll just decide to send an army in. It doesn't matter if it's under castles, because they know that they can actually reinforce and make more. So yeah, this might look like a waste, but for him, he can always make more, and you can see the queue now. So that's actually a great decision from him. These hand cannons have to be babysat, man, because if the skirms are around, it's a problem. Yet another annoying little trash army that runs into Miguel's base. And Miguel thinks, okay, well, now he won't have the army here. Here's my time. But guys, Miguel's in a fragile spot. It's weird. Like, he's really struggling to spend his resources, though. I think Classicpro is doing a much better job at that. He's trying his best to go in for the kill. Again, Classicpro splitting up, still having some things here. That eventually did its damage. The TC's gone down, but now Miguel will lose the Trebs. Classicpro will deal with this. Persians don't have good answers to straight trash, guys. Something Classicpro has recognized. Persians do not even get two-handed swordsmen. There's not really a unit Persians have that counters full skirmisher, full halves. And Japanese have some of the best trash in the game. His food count used to be at 50. It's now at 30. There's a lot of farms that don't have farmers on them, so maybe he can get workers over there. But again, I'm just waiting. And Classicpro's building up right now. I'm just waiting for Classicpro to finally take out this castle. He's going to take out this one now. And finally, I think I can definitively say that Classicpro is going to get this win. He's just so far ahead in all these different categories. He almost lost this game. Miguel somehow almost held on here. But Classicpro was able to get his economy right behind it and get as many production buildings as he needed. I was really worried when I looked back at his base and I didn't see he had auto farm on. That is not common for high-level players to use auto farm until later in the game, and that's correct, by the way. There's a lot of instances and a lot of reasons why, if you're playing competitively, you shouldn't use it even in Castle Age, even though I'm lazy and I do. But yeah, like, certainly at the time I looked back there, he probably should have had it on. I didn't think he'd ever have the food to be able to continue to produce. The problem for Miguel would be that he's got 2 castles to defend right now. But, man, he is actually holding. He's actually holding. He'll take out the Treb there. And he still has bombard cannons over here. Miguel is sick of me calling this early. He believes he can do this. And he will be able to clear out quite a few skirmishers right now. These bombard cannons for Miguel are going to loop in after this Treb again. Guys, Classicpro has no gold. He has no gold access right now. Actually, no, I lied. He is going to take this gold, excuse me. But he's just lost a bunch of trebuchets. Miguel's not finished yet. He does have lots of space for farming eco. He also is going to be running low on gold. It's not like he's got all the gold in the world. And geez, I mean, he's even losing a Treb to villagers right there. Man. Man, these bombard cannons are insane. Oh, my word, and the skirms. Not the biggest problem for Miguel. The biggest problem would be the halbs, but still. Definitely feels like a spot where Commanderon would be a useful technology, though, right? And you're floating all that wood. Don't tell me Miguel's going to bring this back again. This is so difficult. I mean, the guy just will not be able to fix his economy problems. And Classicpro maybe senses this. Miguel's pop hasn't been above 140 in a long time. So whereas Classicpro has been close to 200 pop for a while here. At some point, Miguel has to break on one of these sides. And maybe this is the moment. I don't see a bombard cannon over here. I don't see any hussars over here. Hussars have to deal with this. There's still another Treb. Classicpro continues to have the reinforcements. I think if I were him, I would just continue to dive. It's just all about taking out the castle. The castle's gone, then suddenly these bomber cannons are all exposed, right? So just patrol in, whatever. You've got 2 trebs here. And yeah, man, the castle will finally go down, which could lead to all those bomber cannons going down. Finally, he takes care of that one. He's also going to take care of this one. I think this is where Miguel might finally call it. His population's at 100. His bomber cannon mass is gone. He's still got so many tiny little raids to clear up. Woo! What a great game. What a messy game that was. But a big one, guys. A very big one for both of these players. I think for Miguel, it was a weird spot for him with T90 Titans League because his first opponent was supposed to be Doubt, who was gone for a week. Okay? So he was gone for a week. And we accommodated that. So he'll be playing Doubt shortly. Like, he'll be playing Doubt probably this week as well, right? So to open up here and win 2 games is an amazing start for him. Because he's got now Doubt, Viper, Jordan, and then Say My Name to play in the group. As you guys probably already know, but I'll restate, you play 5 rounds at the conclusion of the group. 2 people are relegated out for the next season. And then 4th place stays alive. 1st through 3rd go on to knockout brackets after that for lots of prize pool prestige. So every single set matters, right? There's a potential of, quick math, 15 points at the conclusion of the group. Is that correct? 3 times 5. I guess that would be correct. And to get 2 here against a player who beat Jordan 2-1 is a really good thing for Miguel. Now, I actually thought that he was going to lose this game a long time ago. So I also don't think there's a lot of disappointment in his eyes of how he played. He won the first 2 games, and he almost brought this one back. But man, oh man, like Classicpro's excitement over his result against Jordan in the first round would have been so much less now if he would have lost 3 games here. So at least he got the win. 3 wins after the first 2 sets, not bad for Classicpro. Miguel, we'll see what he ends up doing when he plays Doubt. 542 kills there for Miguel. I'm pretty sure that the kill difference came in with the castles and the bombard cannons because, my goodness, did they find value. But Classicpro did have the much better economy there. Again, there was a point where he was running out of food. He had like 10 on food, and he had 20 villagers that were idle and not farming. This guy had to get the production back. He also had to get his eco back, and he ended up making it happen. It wasn't looking good there for a while. I think for Miguel, it's just, for all the good the bombard cannons did him, he wasn't sure what to combine with his hussars. Honestly, maybe stopping the production of skirmishers was tough. But also, he didn't have that much food floating, so it also could be that he wasn't able to afford hussars and skirms because they both cost food. Maybe trash bows would have worked. Still really, really tricky. But yeah, there's a look at the resources collected. Classicpro brought in a lot more. If you're interested in the other stats like the scouting, 87% is pretty dang high because you normally are not going to have all those pawns scouted. So that 10% is probably just the pawns. And actually, I just want to show what do we have here? Just to show how crazy things started to look here. Let's look at food collected for a while. Wood collected we'll put on here as well. Just to see. It's always fun to toggle through these stats. I should do this more. It certainly looks like gold control was there for Classicpro. All resources collected, you can see he was slightly ahead, but then he ended up losing a lot of units. I think military population is also shown here. I think this was the point where you started to see the bomber cannons really work. But we, as Miguel, not MBL, sorry, tried to make the tech switch. He struggled to control the game, started to lose some other things there. Tech switching is a difficult thing. As while spamming hussars is great, it does cost a lot of resources to get those technologies. It costs focus and time to get your stables up and start to produce those units. And then before he knew it, he was overwhelmed by Classicpro yet again there. GG, Group A, guys, is super, super interesting going into the second round.